Hello, writers, and welcome back. Um, I love hearing some of the ideas that you guys came up with, some of the ideas that are part of your heart, some of the important people, important places, and stories that go with them. Before we get started with today's lesson, I thought about another way that writers really sort of generate ideas for their stories is by thinking about like really strong emotions. So, like for example, happy, that's an emotion, right? But excited, that's like a strong emotion. Like scared, that's an emotion, but terrified, that's like a really strong emotion. So I want you to just take a minute right now and in your writer's notebook, like we did with people and places, is think about a strong emotion that you had. Remember, not scared but terrified, or not happy but excited, or overjoyed. And think about a story that you might be able to write from that strong emotion. I'm going to do that right now while you do it as well. All right. So I just wrote terrified because I was thinking about this story that's also connected to Julia. We were swimming and she came out of the ocean and her knee was like really swollen and it had all these marks on it and I didn't know what it was. And so I was absolutely terrified and whisked her up and took her to the hospital to see what was going on because I didn't know if she was having an allergic reaction or what was going on. But like those strong emotions can really give you good ideas for stories. But what's really important and how I'm going to connect it to today's lesson is when we write these stories, we need to make sure that the reader of our stories, because remember, writers write for readers to read, they need to really experience your story by making sure that you're really in your story. So even though I might be writing a story about Julia, I need to put myself in the way I feel in the story. So today, guys, we're going to help the reader experience our story by putting ourselves in it using very precise details. So I was thinking about my story and I was thinking about how I might be able, because I really think I do want to write this story, which I'm going to, for better terms, call it a sea urchin story, is I want to tell this story, but not from Julia's point of view, from how I felt as her mom in this experience. So I want to think back to that moment, and I really want to just sort of put myself in that story and think about what was happening, where was I, what was happening, who was there, what kinds of sounds did I hear, what was I thinking, what was I feeling, all of those things to really sort of make this world of the story that was happening. So we were on a beach and there were these, we were on a beach, we were in Italy, we were on this beach, and there were these rocks that were really, really, really far out. And Julia and her friend Dylan and Dylan's mom, they wanted to swim out to these rocks. Well, already I was like really nervous about it because it was pretty far out, and you know, as a mom, you don't want your kid to, swim out that far and then not be able to swim back. But I said okay because Dylan's mom was going to. And, they went out there and I was sitting on the beach and waving to them and doing all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I see sort of like, from far away. And I'm like, oh my God, I think something's wrong. And I start swimming out there and we meet sort of in the middle. And Julia's like, something's my knee, it's bleeding, it's bleeding. So we get back in to the beach, and I look at her knee and I thought, oh my God, what is going on? What is going on with her knee? So I'm going to just stop there for a second, and I'm going to start writing this story. And I'm going to think about me in the story, because remember, it's my personal narrative, even though it happened to Julia. And I'm going to think about what I might write. So I think I'm going to start the story when I see them sort of waving their hands like, come out, come out. And I think I'm going to start the story there. So I'm going to write, I looked out to the faraway rocks. And I noticed everyone was signaling me. Their arms were waving, gesturing me to come quick. So I looked out to the faraway rocks, and I noticed everyone was signaling me. Their arms were waving, gesturing me to come quick, so they were like waving towards me. I'm going to add in my thoughts here. I thought, oh my God, is there a shark? Right? Isn't that what you automatically think when there's ocean? And then I jumped into the ocean. And swam as fast as a dolphin. All right, I'm going to stop for a minute because I want you guys to think about how I added myself into the story. So I'm going to read to you what I have so far. I looked out to the faraway rocks, and I noticed everyone was signaling me. Their arms were waving, gesturing me to come quick. I thought, oh my God, is there a shark? I jumped into the ocean and swam as fast as a dolphin. I want you to think about how did I add myself into this story? And see if you could come up with a couple of different ways on how I added myself into the story. And I'm going to put my story up here in case you want to read it again while you're thinking. Okay, so I hope that one of the things that you thought about when you were thinking about how you can put yourself into the story as almost as if it's like happening right now is that you are noticing that I'm adding actions. I'm adding the actions of myself. I'm adding the actions of the people signaling me. I'm also adding in my thoughts. All right? So I thought to myself, oh my God, is that a shark? Right? And then right after that, I have another action. I jumped into the ocean and swam as fast as a dolphin. Right? Another way I can add myself into the story is making sure that it's my thoughts, that I'm using me, right? And I'm making my story sound as if it's happening and not that I'm like retelling it to you on the telephone. So today, writers, when you go off, I want you to do a couple of things. I want you to look back at your lists We have when we were scared, a moment, a strong emotion. We have a place. We have people that are important to us. And before you even start writing that story today, I want you to think and bring yourself into that story and think about what happened, who was there, what were you doing, what were other people doing, what were you hearing, what were you thinking, what were you saying, what actions did you have. And before you start writing, I want you to think about that moment and then just start writing that story. And remember, when you're writing your story, it's really important to put yourself in the story and make it sound like a story, like the books that we read, the stories that we read, and not sound like a telephone call when you're talking to somebody on the phone. And some little tricks to help you today is to make sure that you have some actions, make sure that you have some thoughts, and make sure, I can't see that over there, and make sure that you're using I and me in your story so that we know that this story is about you. And I'm really excited to see your story journeys, and I can't wait to read them, and hopefully we can have some people share them with others in our class tomorrow. All right, writers, have a great night. Bye-bye.